Get off the sideline. Time to get in the game.
Welcome back to the Triple Play Performance Podcast. This is Dr. Mike, and in today's episode, I want to discuss the top 3 tips on how to improve your immune system. It's been a while. I've been focusing a lot on establishing our online courses and our online memberships. And we've been busy with baseball. Not going to lie there. Family's been busy with baseball, adjusting the kids to living in Hawaii. And we're just having our transition phase. So that's what we've been up to. But I've been getting a lot of questions from the weekly Q&A sessions on Instagram. So shout out to all of you guys that are asking questions and participating on our weekly Instagram Q&A sessions. If you're not following me on Instagram, go and follow me, instagram.com/tripleplaydoc. You can find me there. Every Tuesday, I answer the questions that you guys ask me on Mondays. So head on over and connect with me there. One of the most common questions that I've been getting lately has been about the immune system. And, there's big topics. I'm going to talk about one of the big topics that I've been discussing over on Instagram. I've been discussing about the whole vaccine mandates that's been going on. So a lot of you have been asking, well, what do we need to do to improve the immune system function? So that's what we're going to talk about today. I want to just jump right in there already. So let's get started right now. So first of all, we've got to talk about what is the immune system. I mean, to put it simply, it's your body's defense. It's basically like your military and the police officers of your body. It looks for any type of attackers and it takes care of that. And there are some other things that the immune system does, but essentially it's your defense system. And now when we talk about any type of chronic disease, every single chronic disease that we see currently is linked to some type of immune system imbalance. And that's the real big issue because what is it now? 8, maybe 9 of the 10 leading causes of death that we're currently seeing are all chronic issues. And if every single or the majority of the leading causes of death is linked to a chronic health issue, and every single chronic health issue is linked towards an immune system imbalance, it's very important that we know how to address the immune system and what we need to do to maximize it. So that's what we want to talk about today. Now, underlying all of the immune system issues is chronic inflammation. We hear about that in the news a lot, that inflammation is a silent killer. So wouldn't it be a great idea to address inflammation? And that's what I do in practice. Whenever a patient comes in to see me, that's the first thing that we always start addressing is what is your inflammatory response like? And that's where we start with every single patient. So here are the top 3 things that you need to be doing to improve your immune system. Now there's many more, but these are the top 3 that I tell every single patient that they need to work on. All right, number 1, you got to manage your stress levels. This also includes sleep, guys, or lack of sleep, I should say. Now, when we look at stress, your body has no idea that you are living in 2019 in a nice, comfortable home. You go to a nice, comfortable workplace. It has no idea that you're not in the jungle or the savannah and not being attacked by some type of tiger or lion or bear. It has no idea that that's happening. It's ingrained in our brains to always be on the lookout for any type of attacker. So what happens is that whenever your brain perceives a stress, and most of the time the stressors that we're encountering in our modern day is emotional stressors. We take on interpersonal relationship stresses, we have work stress, we have familial stressors, all these different things affects us on a mental aspect. And whenever it affects us on a mental aspect, our bodies perceive that as a threat. We perceive it as some type of lion that's chasing us. And then there's three things that happens when we're underneath stress. Okay, so your digestion detoxification shuts down, hormonal productions switches. Okay, and then the third one is that your immune system suppresses. Because if you think about it, your body actually prioritizes survival over thriving. Makes sense, right? Makes sense that if you're running away from a tiger, the last thing that you want to do is stop on the side of the road to eat an apple, make a baby, or protect your body from the flu. Those are the last three things. Your body only wants to run away. And there's two things that happens, or two outcomes that would happen from that type of stress. If you're running away from a tiger, you either will get away, right? And that shouldn't last years, right? You're running away, and you're either going to get away because the lion gives up, the tiger gives up, or the bear gives up, or you get eaten. One of those two things happens. So physiologically, our bodies are programmed for short-term stressors. Unfortunately, what we experience in our modern day and age are long-term stressors. So with that, if you are constantly running away from the imaginary tiger, your digestion detoxification will be off, your hormones will also be off, and your immune system will be suppressed. And we see this in clinical studies. We see this in the office, that every single chronic health issue is due to long-term stress. Okay, some forms of long-term stress could be inadequate nutrition, exposures to toxins, aberrant amounts of light exposure, not enough light exposure, not enough water, or sometimes I see this a lot in practice as well, is people who exercise too much or people who exercise too little, right? Our bodies are like Goldilocks. We need that, just right in the middle. That's what we need. So when we look at stress and the body prioritizing survival over thriving, we shut down digestion, our hormones go out of whack, and our immune system is suppressed. We need to be looking at how do we combat that. Okay, so it's the managing of stress levels. Now, anything, this is what we describe as stress, is anything that tends to disrupt or disturb your body's equilibrium. And that's what we term as stress. So anything can be a stressor on your body. And a lot of times I hear this from people who ask me questions. They says, I don't understand why I'm being affected, why my health is being affected. I live a healthy lifestyle. I exercise, I eat clean, I meditate, I do all those things. Well, I can guarantee you there's some type of stressor that's underlying your body. So getting your stress levels under control is a must. Now, whenever I consult with patients or even in any of my courses, this is the foundational thing that we always work on. We always have to work on stress, because if your stress levels are like skyrocketing, nothing else is going to work, right? Because your body is in that survival mode, and in survival mode, you have things that switch off into where it's not supposed to be, right? Like I said, your digestion goes off, hormones goes off, and your immune system suppresses. And it's a smart thing, right? Like I said, if you're running away from, a lion or a tiger or a bear, you need all all those resources to be allocated towards your muscles and then also your brain function. So if you look at a lot of people who are having health issues, a lot of people have anxiety issues. A lot of people have diabetic, like symptoms of metabolic syndrome, where their blood sugar is elevated. And that's because of chronic stress. Your body is trying to increase your blood glucose levels so that you have enough energy to run away. You need more energy being supplied to the muscles and to your brain, one, so that your brain can be aware of the attacker, and then your muscles need to have enough energy to run away. But that's only supposed to last for a short amount of time. So this is why I start with stress management with every single one of my patients, and there's a myriad of ways to do that, and it's from an individualized basis because we've got to figure out where the stress is coming from. Is it coming from a emotional? Is it coming from a physical? Is it coming from a biochemical? What type is the main effector? That's what we got to figure out. All right, number 2, you got to repair the gut. If you have been following me for a while, you know that I'm a stickler on making the gut perfect. We got to get that under control. Well, I don't know if you could ever get it perfect, but we got to get that under control. And the reason why we got to look at that, especially in the immune system, is that a good amount of your immune system, if not the majority of your immune system, like 95% of your immune system lies within your gut. And your gut is the primary interface between the outside world and the inside world. It's the gatekeeper, right? It's the bouncer of your inner club. It has to know what to keep out and what to let in. That's the whole goal of the gut. And you got a huge amount of your immune system lying there because it got to be able to recognize friend and foe. Now, if you have high amounts of stress, what goes down? Your gut. What lies in your gut? Your immune system. And if those defenses are down because you have chronic amounts of stress, you're not going to digest properly and you're not going to protect your body. Now, you leave this over a long period of time, your body says, well, we got to do something about this. So what it'll do is it'll kick up action. This is now you went from suppression to heightened response, and this is where autoimmune issues come into play, right? It's because your immune system's like, all right, we're just we need to kick up our efforts here. So now it looks at everything as a potential threat. This is where the autoimmune issues come into play. Okay. And gosh, stress is just a huge amount plays a huge factor in all of this. And whenever I hear people ask me, I got eczema, psoriasis, any type of skin issues, I always point them back to, you got to balance out the gut. And beyond that, in order to balance out the gut, you got to manage your stress levels, and I don't know how much more emphasis to put on that. And here's a big plug for, one of my courses that a lot of people have partaken in is my Total Gut Restore program. If you have any type of health issue, I always start you there. Is we got to start at the gut and addressing the gut. So if you go into the show notes or you go to tripleplayperformance.co/TGR, you got to get started in my gut program. It'll take you through from A to Z on what you need to be doing with the gut. It'll walk you through as if you were in my office and I was speaking directly with you on how to get your health back. It always starts with the gut. So it doesn't matter what type of health issue you're going through, you got to start with the gut. All right, the third tip to improve your immune system, surprise, surprise, is improving spinal mobility. So much research has come out that talks about how well your spine is moving, how well almost every single joint in your body, because what happens is that there's an intimate relationship between the immune system and the nervous system. Okay, there's an intimate relationship between your thoughts, your movement, and your immune system. There's a whole branch of study called psychoneuroimmunology, looking at the interplay between your thoughts, your nervous system, and your immune system. So if you have chronic amounts of stress from emotions, that'll impact your immune system, which will impact or it'll impact your nervous system, which will impact your immune system. And it's an integrated flow of things. You can have your nervous system being on high alert, which also impacts your emotions, which impacts your immune system. So that's one of the things that we always work on with every single patient is we want to optimize your nervous system, right? And that can be done through spinal manipulation. It can be done by addressing movement patterns, proper movement patterns. We address soft tissue lengthening or fascial adhesions because that affects your nervous system. So many different things that needs to be addressed, and whenever I work with patients, this is always a thing that we gotta address, right? Now, we talked a lot about these three different things, but I want to give you guys a bonus on this. And one of the things that's becoming a lot more popular, people are learning more about this. Well, we've used this for a long time. It's been used, centuries upon centuries. It's been part of traditional Chinese medicine and different types of healing modalities out there. Almost every single culture has dove into the use of medicinal mushrooms. And I'm not talking about the magic mushrooms that college students are using. No, I'm talking about stuff like chaga, reishi, maitake. There's a lot of these mushrooms that are making it out into the public that'll help modulate your immune system, right? And that's what we call these things are immunomodulators. And the cool thing about an immunomodulator is that if you have a heightened immune response, it can bring that down. If you have a suppressed immune response, it can bring that up. So I'll in the show notes, I'll link to some of the medicinal mushrooms that I personally use and I recommend for patients as well. So if you're listening to this in the car or you're at the gym or on a walk, you don't have time to look at it right now. The ones that I use pretty much on a daily basis is by Four Sigmatic. Some of you may be familiar with that. One of my favorite ones that I've been using a lot is the reishi hot chocolate mix, and I use that as a night capper. Calms me down and just helps the body overall. One of the other mushrooms that I use a lot with any of my patients who are going through cancer is chaga, and I mean that thing's really potent and really effective at modulating the immune system. So that's one of the bonuses I wanted to give you guys in the episode. So that makes it 4 ways. Those are my top 4 ways. Obviously, there are more ways that you can affect the immune system, but you got those 4. Those are your foundation. Those are the things that you address: stress, the gut, and spinal mobility, and also using immunomodulators. You are going to make a huge impact on your immune system. So today we talked a lot about the gut, the role that it plays with your immune system. And like I talked to you guys, if you don't have my Total Gut Restore class right now, if you haven't gone through that, go through it. Go to www.tripleplayperformance.co/TGR. It's typically $397, but because you're listening to the podcast or if you follow me on social media, I'm giving you $300 off the course. So instead of $397, you'll get it for $97. It's your course for the rest of your life, or as long as there's electricity or the internet around, you will have access to that. Okay, so go and get that, www.tripleplayperformance.co/TGR. All right, it's been fun hanging out. This is Dr. Mike. I want to make these podcast episodes very actionable. If this is your first time listening to the podcast, hopefully you got something out of it. Consider subscribing to the podcast. We are going to release podcasts way more often now. Kind of got everything kind of settled down, getting into the groove of things. Being back home in Hawaii. Hey, if you guys are ever in Hawaii, look me up, give me a shout out, and maybe we can meet up. But yeah, if this is your first time listening, consider subscribing. Hit the subscribe button. If you're not following me on Instagram, go to instagram.com/tripleplaydoc. I post a question box every single Monday, and on Tuesdays, I answer your questions. And hey, I put out a lot of fun and educational things that you can learn about. So join our community there on Facebook and also on Instagram. So they're both either on Facebook, facebook.com/tripleplaydoc, or Instagram.com/tripleplaydoc. If you have been a subscriber of the podcast, thank you so much. And I will be putting out at least one episode a week. All right, the highlights for the next episode, episode 68, we are going to talk about the great vaccine debate. We're going to talk about what's going on with the vaccine mandates and my thoughts on the whole vaccine issue. So subscribe, and that will be delivered to your podcast player. We're found everywhere: iTunes, Stitcher, Spotify, whatever. Hit the subscribe button. Till the next time we meet, be well and aloha. Hey, if you've enjoyed this podcast, leave us a 5-star review. Connect with me on Instagram at tripleplaydoc. Stay tuned for more episodes. Tell your friends, tell your family, tell the entire world. Till the next episode, be well and aloha.